Hey, I'm Emily, this is Jay, and this is Charles. You might know me online as Shoebox Designs. Welcome to our Greenwich Village apartment. You will see already that there is a ton of art in the walls. I really just love things that are beautiful and give me joy and are subjects I really like. So we'll give you a full rundown of all of the art in the house. So this is our tiny little galley kitchen. We are not huge cooks, so this space works for us, plenty of counter space. And this is one of the areas of the apartment that I have some really big plans for. I would love to do some open shelving here where we can display art and kitchen knickknacks, but honestly, just working on saving up the budget, getting the design just right, and as of right now, this place is perfectly functional. When we all started working from home in 2020, my partner Jay really prefers a standing desk, and we thought that all of the standing desks were just hideous. Until we found this. It's actually an antique drafting table, so an architect's drafting table. And I think it's such a beautiful piece, and it's also super functional. And then having it right next to the window is really nice that you get that light from the outside. So I have to tell you a story about Grace, which is our biggest art piece in the home. I saw a listing for this giant vintage champagne ad, and the only thing more iconic than the piece was the woman who was selling it. She was an elderly woman in Soho, this fabulous retired fashion designer with all over the loft. She had these huge oversized pieces of art that she was selling. So I just love the kind of elegance that it brings to this corner. So this piece has a secret that totally made me fall in love with it when I first found it. On either side of it, it pulls out to expose more counter space for mixing drinks, making cocktails, and it's such a fun party trick whenever people come over to just expand the bar cabinet and make them their drinks. So I just absolutely love this piece. So the oversized art above our couch is actually by one of my all-time favorite artists. His name is Andrea Farola. I've always been really enamored with his artwork, and I wanted a piece that was going to be really big, kind of the focal point of the living room. But he actually sells some of his artwork on scarves. So this is just a really big scarf that we mounted up on the wall, and I bought some molding, I bought some paint, I bought a saw, and I just created this frame to kind of really make this look really clean and polished. So we call this little area of the apartment the library. It's got a lot of my books, it's got a little reading nook, some of my favorite art. This piece in particular was one of the pieces that really helped the apartment start to come to life. And I really believe that large furniture in a small space actually helps that small space look a lot bigger. Jay and I are really big travelers, and every time we travel, we try to bring home some little knickknack that's going to remind us of our trip. This piece of pottery we got in Mexico City. We got this little box on a recent trip to Norway. So it's all of this stuff just really is so nice to reminisce on some of the amazing trips that we've taken, and it's so much fun. So this is our gallery wall slash TV wall. And I knew that if I was gonna have a TV in my living room, I wanted it to blend in with a lot of the artwork. I opted for the Samsung frame TV and decided to build a gallery wall around it. I was really interested in finding the perfect piece for below the gallery wall. I tried so many different credenzas and buffets in the space. Nothing really worked until I found this one. It was my first paid partnership as a content creator with Kaio. I found this piece and I was like, I can't imagine anything else going in this space. This piece is by Joan Sotero. It was the first piece that I got for the gallery wall, kind of was the starting point for all of the other art that I collected. I absolutely love this piece and think it's a really awesome piece to be kind of front and center. Lastly, this piece by Susanna Carson. I have a ton of her artwork. This is one of my favorites. I love pictures and depictions of hands, and I thought that this piece was so gorgeous, so loved putting that at the top left of the gallery wall as well. Welcome to the bedroom. As you can see, it's a little bit more bright in contrast with the living room, which is a little more modern, a little moodier. I really wanted this space to feel romantic and warm and vintage, just all of those really fantastic vibes. I am a huge collector of vintage and antique pieces, and I just love the rush of finding something that is timeless and, so valuable and has so much history. And honestly, this piece, more than any other piece I've ever found, kind of has that in spades. May of this year, when I found this piece on an online auction site, it was in this tiny little auction house in Switzerland, but it turns out that no one bid on it. So the auction just came and went, nobody bid on it. It arrived in New York, and I worked with an antique rug specialist to hang it up on the wall. And as soon as we put this piece in the space just came to life. This tapestry is also the perfect backdrop for my dog, Charles. I promise I did not pose him this way. This is just his favorite place to snooze. Usually he's in the background of all of my Zoom calls, just perched on the pillows and just loving life. I really love mid-century furniture. I love the wood tones, I love the clean lines. And this one in particular was just the right size and perfectly petite for a work from home setup. It was 2020 when we got it. About a year later, I became really obsessed with Kato wall units, which are essentially these modular wall units made by this Danish designer back in the 50s. Until I found these shelves. While they're not technically a Kato wall unit, they look very similar. And I thought, you know what, I can probably kind of makeshift make one and kind of just mount it right above my desk and have that same feeling even without finding that perfect piece. And I absolutely love what it did for this space. So the bedroom has some of my favorite pieces of art in the whole apartment. These three in particular, they are actually all from the same stall in the Paris flea markets. I met this really amazing couple that was selling both antique furniture and this beautiful collage artwork of kind of like classical characters. This one, it's got the spot of honor on the desk. Achilles from the Iliad with Patroclus right after the Trojan War, which is just a beautiful, beautiful story. And these two, again, by the same collage artist, this is a statue of the Venus de Milo, and this is a statue of Nero's mother. So it always makes me think of that trip to Paris whenever I look at this art. I love vintage card catalogs. They're pretty hard to come by and they're surprisingly expensive, but I think that they are such a fun storage idea, and every morning I can just sit right here in front of this antique mirror and do my makeup and just have a lovely morning. I feel like a collected home is really about being open to finding pieces wherever you are, wherever the moment strikes you, and really bringing pieces into your home that tell a story or remind you of a specific time or place. One of the things I love about my home is I can look around and every single thing brings me back to a very specific time and place when I found it, and it just brings a lot of joy having all of those memories. Thank you so much for coming and touring our space. We've loved having you. You can find me on Instagram and TikTok at Shoebox Designs. Thanks so much for coming.